President Biden is set to speak with his Chinese counterpart Thursday about a number of issues, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's possible visit to Taiwan.
China has warned that if the House Speaker travels to the island, that the U.S. will be met with, quote, a forceful response. Pelosi's office hasn't said when or if she will proceed with the trip, but defense officials have said it is, quote, not a good idea. If she does go, she'll be the highest-ranking elected official to visit Taiwan in 25 years, the last person being Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich back in 1997.
So for more on this, let's bring in Michael Swaine. He's the director of the East Asia program at the Quincy Institute. Michael, welcome. Great to have you with us. So maybe you can explain what it means for House Speaker Pelosi to visit Taiwan now. Sort of what are the larger geopolitical implications of that visit and the ramifications this trip might have on U.S.-China relations?
Well, the larger implications of this have to do with the whole question of what is the basis of stability in the Taiwan Strait. The United States and China reached an understanding many, many years ago at the time of normalization that the U.S. would acknowledge that there's one China and did not dispute the idea that Taiwan was part of China. It didn't formally recognize that, but it did not dispute it. And the Chinese committed themselves to peaceful resolution. A Pelosi trip, and this is not just any other congressperson, this is Nancy Pelosi, the third in line for leadership in the United States, sends a message. She's also somebody who is very vocal on China issues, very supportive of Taiwan against China. And this sends a message that the United States is willing to accept a more senior level of the U.S. government visiting Taiwan at a very sensitive time. So it's not just the fact of her visit, it's also the timing of her visit. Both of these things really make it a very bad move, in my opinion.
And why is that timing so important? Is it because President Xi Jinping has been watching what's going on in Ukraine, watching the U.S. not be willing to put military troops on the ground there? Is it because of the relationship between China and the U.S. right now? Why is the timing of this potential visit so vital?
I think it's primarily due to the relationship between the United States and China. The relationship has declined considerably over the last several years, beginning to a great extent during the Trump administration and continuing on through the Biden administration with some level of moderation. But both sides are increasingly worst-casing the other's motives and intentions. They're both engaging in a lot of zero-sum discussions and interactions with each other. So it's not a good time right now to add on to all of this the issue of a Pelosi visit to Taiwan. Plus, in China, they're coming up on a major party Congress, the 20th Party Congress, and Xi Jinping cannot look weak or accommodating in the face of a challenge, what they could very well see as a challenge to the whole notion of stability across the Taiwan Strait. And by the same token, Biden himself is looking at the midterm elections and then the 2024 presidential elections, and he doesn't want to be seen as appeasing or accommodating the Chinese on this issue. So both sides are kind of dug in.
Politics is domestic, right?
I was going to say, to your point about Xi not wanting to look weak, now if Nancy Pelosi backs down, won't she be the one, or the U.S. be the one that ends up looking weak in this sort of standoff?
Well, I don't think it's a question of backing down per se. I think it's really a question of what is the right way to deal with this problem. I honestly think that the problem really emerged because the Biden administration did not early on discourage Speaker Pelosi from going to Taiwan. And so the predictable response from the Chinese was what we've seen. Anybody could have predicted that they would have responded strongly to this. And then people turn around and say, oh, well, we can't let into the Chinese because it'll look like they're intimidating us. But that's sort of like a lose-lose situation. If the Chinese do nothing, then people say, oh, they're a paper tiger, and they'll up their pressure. And if the Chinese respond, then they say, oh, the Chinese are trying to intimidate us, so we can't have that. So in either way, the Chinese kind of lose on this situation.
And Pelosi's office still hasn't confirmed or denied the trip. So, Michael Swaine, thank you very much.